in your article, your most recent article in Heritage, you talk about some, what one would say is like maybe fringe people. And the question is how prominent and influential are these Marxists in our universities and all these other people who are like crazy far on the left? How influential are they really?
Well, they're very influential. They're infinitesimally small as a percentage of the population. The Hidden Tribes Project a couple of years ago said they were about 8% of the population, but they've colonized us. You know, with colonies, the British Empire, it was a small minority that ran India or that ran many parts of Africa. Thousands of people running millions. There's an analogy to be made there. The woke are in charge of the academy. They're in charge of the media. They're in charge of the entertainment industry. And in that sense, they're in charge of our minds. Every time we talk about diversity and inclusion or social justice or minorities, we're really using the language, the lexicon of the left. Now, if we get to brass tacks, we talk about Black Lives Matter. Just a couple of days ago, the leader, the Marxist leader of the Black Lives Matter organization, the global movement, wrote a letter to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, requesting a meeting, saying, in her words, "We delivered this vote for you, and now you have to meet our demands." This is Patrisse Cullors, just to recap, is a woman who has described herself as a trained Marxist, and that is a very apt description. She trained with Eric Mann, a former member of the Weather Underground, for 10 years in the community strategy organization of Los Angeles. So yeah, I mean, I think they're very influential. They play key roles.
It's really amazing how influential, like credit to them, how influential such a small group of people has been able to become. So what is this silent majority that are conservatives, I think? What are we to do now? First of all, stop being silent, right? And I hate that we even have like, this is like a source of pride that we're the silent majority, like enough of that. But what else do you recommend we do to break free of our colonizers?
Well, I think that we need to free ourselves of the fear that we're going to be called names or that we're going to be called racist. Or if we know we're not racist, if we know we harbor no racist thoughts and what we want is the good for all Americans, we need to describe this. We need to say, no, I am all for diversity if it obtains organically. It's a beautiful thing if it's a result of meritocracy. And by all means, let's create a society in which meritocracy lifts everybody. A guy named Gonzalez, a guy named Slater, and we have the same opportunities. This is what we want. But when it becomes enforced, when it becomes a quota system, it requires coercion. And that is something that we do not want. We have to be able to speak in those terms. We have to be able to say, there's no Hispanic category, there's no Latino vote, as we have seen in the recent election. We have a Cuban vote in Miami, which differs sometimes with the Cuban vote in New Jersey, the Cuban-American vote in New Jersey, and we have the Mexican-American vote in the Rio Grande Valley, the heartland of Tejano country in South Texas, and we have the Mexican-American vote in Los Angeles, which is very different. And we have to pretend that we have a Latino vote is a crazy thing. But of course, consultants have families and they have to feed them as well.
Let's speak about that Hispanic thing for a little bit, because I've heard the media dismiss this as like, oh, it's just the Cubans. Just the Cubans got tricked and scared by the conservative media that socialism's coming. But what have you seen nationwide about this so-called Hispanic vote?
First of all, let's address that very briefly, because I saw CNN's Christiana Manpour talk about this, and I've seen Univision in Spanish talk about this, that this is misinformation. No, it just so happens that this close to 10 people in the Democratic Conference now in the House that self-identify as socialists, and it just so happens that the founders of the Black Lives Matter organizations, not the concept, are Marxists. This is not misinformation. Also, as I said, counties in the Rio Grande Valley, counties such as Hidalgo, Zapata, Trump won Zapata County, by the way, counties such as Webb County, Jim Hogg County, they swung massively towards Trump by comparison to the 2016 vote. I'm talking about swings of 50 percentage points, 40 percentage points, 30 percentage points in all these counties. These are Mexican Americans. These are not Cubans. And the Puerto Rican vote in Central Florida, in Osceola County, in the I-4 corridor, appears to have also have been supportive of Trump. So this is an example. Of course, the Mexican American vote in Arizona and California was very different from the RGV. Indeed, the urban Mexican American vote in Texas was very different from the RGV. So what it shows is that the so-called Latino vote was just like the vote of everyone else.
Yep. Yeah. Just which I think goes back to the real divide in our country, which is city versus country. But yeah, it's just, there's no more block. I wish we could stop talking about blocks of votes. And this idea of Hispanic is such a nebulous concept anyway, right?
It would occur to nobody to lump together the Irish vote in Southie in Boston with the Scots-Irish vote in Kentucky or West Virginia. Any consultant who did that would be be learning to code right away.
Last question for you, Mike, to go back a bit about equity and meritocracy and all that. The argument, the quick comeback from Kamala and the rest is, well, some people don't have the opportunities. They don't have a leg up. They don't have the chances that you or I have in this country, and we need to give them a chance.
Well, I think we need to actually look into that, and there is some truth to the fact that there are communities that suffer more. We need to look at why they suffer and address the real issues. What are the issues with family breakdown, which by the way, happens with all races, right? What are the issues with out-of-wedlock rates? What are the issues with schools that are just plain bad, not just bad, but dangerous? Well, why should African-American kids be consigned to schools that are so bad? Don't we need school choice in America? So we do need to have a conversation. What we do not need to do is instill grievances into people because, or for heaven's sakes, just drop and get rid of capitalism, which is what the leaders of the Black Lives Matter organizations want to do. They say this. This is not Mike Gonzalez saying this. They say smash capitalism. Alicia Garza says this. Patrice Cullors says this. That's not going to help anybody. That's not going to help Black Americans. That's not going to help Cuban Americans. That's not going to help you, me, anyone. That's going to only hurt us.
That's the real end. All this is a means. The plot to change America, how identity politics is dividing the land of the free. Mike Gonzalez, always a pleasure to talk to you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mike. Great to be on with you.
True